Hello everyone, this is Fantastic Worlds, welcome you back to Lovecraft Country and Control, Lore and Chill, where we take a casual look at the connections between the Control universe and the ancient Christian heretical system known as Gnosticism. And if you don't know what Gnosticism is and you haven't seen the previous episodes, you're going to be confused as hell. So, I'm putting a link up to the main playlist where you can start from the top. But for those of us who have caught up to where we are right now, we've established, of course, that the Most High, Monad, the Stranger, the Glory, the Janitor in this universe, is in fact the all-knowing embodiment of divinity that is beyond comprehension. But he also, what happened is a bunch of his servants, known as Aeons, went rogue, cut off our world, among others, from the rest of the Aeons, and attempted to guard over and rule it as soulless tyrants that we know as the Board in this universe. So, what exactly part does the Bureau play with this? And yes, the posing of this was not incidental. The Bureau is an series of Archons. Now, what is an Archon? Well, we've already established that an Aeon is, in fact, the servant of the Most High that is set for his particular duty to, I mean, the Most High can't do everything himself. The Janitor requires assistance even in this game. So what he has to do is he has to find help, and that help comes in the form of Aeons. I don't think we have to go that way. Now, the Aeons themselves are what we consider to be gods, angels, ancestor spirits, messengers, whatever you want to think of. Anyone who's assigned a particular task by the Most High. Now, when the Watchers slash Board went rogue, they of course lost access to all of their fellow Aeons, or at least maybe some of them. Oh, give me a moment. Man, they are just bouncing me around today. Anyway, so they were saying, so you need flunkies, and those are called Archons. Now, the majority of Archons are going to be fallen spirits that are twisted into the shape of the fallen to go with them into this damned realm, but they're also going to have willing material hands. In other words, hands like the Bureau. Now, the reason I'm wearing the old P7 outfit is this is the prisoner outfit, the potential, but it was called P, or what it really is, prisoner outfit they were going to give Jesse if they decided to capture her. Now, this is said if they decided to, not if they, because we already established in the main game they had been very aware of Jesse's movements throughout the entire country and possibly the world. So they always could have grabbed her at any time, but they chose not to. Now, why did they choose not to? Because, like I stated before, Dylan we raised in captivity, but they were kind of worried about his mental state after he telekinetically barbecued several of his guards. So they decided to keep Jessie out in the world to see if that would help her psychological development. Now, does this sound like a, potentially good organization that we're choosing to work with here? In fact, as I keep stating, we're not working with the good guys. We're working with the powers of the status quo.
What do you make of these hiss?
They strike me as instinctual. Less conscious, more like a collective impulse.
We'll get into that.
I would certainly like to interview one. Before he began making videos, I did all of Darling's transcription. I was thrilled when the comms department gave him a media team.
Why would you need a media team? You didn't do your... Oh, right, for the cover-up. Anyways, so let's talk about how the Bureau got involved. Now, the Bureau, as we've gone over before, was created in 1964 and by the federal government in order to be able to both A, control, and B, as they like to say, try to weaponize any form of paranormal entity or activity. Oh my god, this is a heavy day. So, without interruption, yeah, so now we come to where the Board and the Bureau come in common. Now, in 1964, the Bureau was created by the federal government, the Federal Bureau of Control, after all, in order to study, analyze, understand, and possibly manipulate for their own purposes supernatural events, organisms, and objects. And the first one they came across is the oldest house. Now, this is probably a way of recruiting for the Board, aka the Watchers. They'll find some organization that is looking for supernatural shenanigans, looking to, with a purpose, to stop monsters or analyze things or just curious, and they'll specifically place an object or even the house itself in their way. Once it's found, well, the Board kind of introduces themselves. So they did this in 1966 when the original Bureau found the oldest house, and in the depths of the oldest house, which did not look like this, by the way, if you recall, because this has been manipulated by the Bureau to resemble an office building, what they did is they managed to get the director at the time, Blackmore, to pick up the service weapon. Now, if you remember when we picked up the service weapon, you were immediately analyzed to whether or not you will be useful for the Board, and if you are not useful for the Board, you will in fact be terminated with extreme prejudice in very nasty ways. Anything in here? Oh, okay. Well, I don't have to use the elevator anyways. So in that case, what happened is Blackmore became... I'm going to try to do this one straight through. Blackmore became enthralled. He became a slave of the board, because the board has had the right at any time in order to be able to terminate his life. And that usually is how you define slavery, is if that they'll kill you if you don't do what you tell them to. So Blackmore basically became a thrall to the well, it seemed to work all right. Became a thrall to the board, aka the Watchers himself. He became an Archon. And by extension, the bureau that he operated became other Archons. And these Archons served to the board the same purpose that the Aeons did to the Most High, aka the Glory, except, of course, in reverse. They work in order to maintain the barrier, the oldest house, as I went to before, to keep away all other powers. Now, this includes the Aeons that are interested in reclaiming it in the name of the Glory, and this also will include, I've got a complete circle here, this also will include any other threat, such as the mold that is currently trying to get in, or the hiss itself, because, you know, they want to keep their stuff. Even if it's not originally their stuff, they stole it first, and they want the thieves. So what happens is that they're the ones who empower the Bureau. Now, the thing is, they don't really do it by much. You'll notice that the board never refers to the Bureau. It only refers to the director. In other words, they refers to Jesse. In this case, it was Blackmore, or what's his name, the smoker who had the job previously. They refer to the director because they're the only entity that they recognize essentially as a sentient being, as the one in charge. They don't care what the director does, because, of course, they called the service weapon Excalibur one to mean to the director was at one point was King Arthur. Yeah, think about that for a second. So they don't care what the director does to establish the safety of the oldest house. They only care the director establishes the safety of the oldest house by any means necessary. Now, Jessie's doing it in a form you might consider to be heroic. In other words, she's sacrificing herself. Oh, God. I was hoping I'd be able to get through there anyways. Except the board doesn't care. I mean, if Jessie did it by sacrificing 100 innocents on obsidian blocks every day, they wouldn't care. In fact, they might be more into that. But their complete apathy towards how the house is maintained, how their order is maintained, kind of shows exactly what they are. I mean, you never hear a single point of empathy. They won't even assist her in anything unless she does something for them. In other words, that's what we call the I'll put you in a moment. This is what they call the board countermeasures. They force us to do work for them in order to get these, you know, mods, which are usually not super great anyways, so it's not like we're doing much. And the funny thing is, Polaris is the one who tells us how to modify the weapon, the service weapon, in the second mission. However, the board does it in the 5th mission. Yeah. So the board doesn't, and the board may not even be aware of the fact that we already did it, because again, they don't care about the details. I think we've already seen that, heard that one before. So yeah, so what happens is the Bureau is doing the work to maintain the, how to put this, the masquerade, as some people put it if you're an old World of Darkness fan. The masquerade that the universe is just an ordinary dead object with nothing special to it. Magic doesn't exist. There are no monsters. Time to go about your business. Now remember, why does the board even want people? Well, first of all, ruling over a dead world isn't a lot of fun. You need somebody to have power over. In this case, hi. You kicked a really bad spawn point. In this case, it's humans, because I suppose other animals too, but they don't. They're probably the... Now, the other reason is that we are the food stuff of the board. See, in Gnosticism... Oh, wait. You're good at dodging that. In Gnosticism, the Fallen do not have the ability to connect to the divine source. But us innocent people do, and they steal it from us constantly. So that's why they want to keep the population of humanity, you know, sheeple. Yeah, I'm sounding like a I'm sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but yeah, this is a universe of conspiracy theory. So these sheeple, these livestock, humanity, and the other animals are drained off of continuously by the board to keep their small amount of power functional. So if those individuals were to suddenly, humanity, decide that this wasn't a good idea and find a means of fighting back from the inside by utilizing magic or any other forbidden technique, as it were, then that would just cause more issues for the board. So they essentially just get us to police ourselves by using the Bureau or the Knights of the Round Table or whatever institution that decide to co-opt as the Archons. Now, like I said before, there are that lighting in here. Oh, it must be a malfunction. The Archons do not care how we do it. They don't care, which is why the Bureau kind of does a lot of shady stuff, but it's not just that. Now, remember that vibrations are a huge concept in this game. In other words, they talk about resonance, they talk about vibrational waves, they talk about intersections and other things. Well, one of the reasons that is that the nature of the existence itself in both the physical and magical means is considered to be vibrational, because they consider the void itself, I went over briefly before, is kind of the potential canvas of all creation, and vibration determines what is drawn forth from it. You send forth a vibration, that means light, and light comes forth. You send forth a vibration, that means blood, and blood comes forth. In other words, or if you know, the lands, the sea, the earth, the air, and all of that is one huge divine song, well, then you have, like, the world. But the vibrational energies of the board are that of nullification, of pacification, of creating an environment in which nothing ever happens, because they don't want anything to happen. Change could threaten their dynamic. They could if humanity suddenly started developing psychic abilities and using altered items to be able to find a way to destroy the board itself, then oh my god, that could be a problem. So what they do is they use the Bureau to secure all of these items and then use them in a process to maintain, their domination over the world. Excuse me. Excellent. Man, this has been kind of big. Anyways, yeah, so that's why the Bureau is so insanely powerful, is because they've been stockpiling all the ultra items on behalf of their mission, not for the United States government. Remember, if you look at Trench's, that's his name, by the way, their predecessor, you look at Trench's memos and such, he says the Bureau is non-existent to the federal government due to the efforts of the oldest house. In other words, the Demiurge, or aka the Watchers, are working to make it so we can basically take the federal government for ourselves and do whatever we want with it, so long as the director keeps the board happy. They'll just keep throwing cash at us because they don't care about cash. They don't care the taxation of our individuals for benefits not for them. In other words, like, hey, the Defense Department does all the time, because I have yet for my life to be greatly benefited by the nuclear stockpile. They take all of that for their own purposes. So there we go. Again, humanity serving as essentially the livestock for the board to keep their little show, their control of the world intact. So therefore, that's when we start coming to the Bureaus being the bad guys, the Archons, the servants of the fallen, as it were. So why in God's name is Jesse working with them? Now, this is going to be an interesting scenario, and I will go over it later, but Jesse is working for them because the alternative is to let the hiss in. In other words, we're working with the lesser evil. As bad as the board is, they do want humanity to continue more or less as they are, because, that's going to keep everybody quiet and happy, and, everything will be fine. Fine. Everything's fine right now. And so long as that keeps going, it's fine. But the Hiss are an aggressive, invasive species. like the mold, which is one of the reasons why I'm diving down here, their desire is to control, is not to control everything, but to consume it, to basically make it a part of them. This one's actually freaks me out a bit more than the hiss. I mean, mold is a serious problem. I mean, serious enough that I don't even get my feet down there if I don't have to. I really don't have to worry about that. Okay, so what then is that we are working with the lesser evil. Now, remember, however, that the janitor is supposedly representative of the Most High, and he's already inserted himself into this scenario. So the question becomes, what part does he play? Why is he also assisting it? Well, again, probably get more into that in another section, but he wants to keep creation going as well, so he finds himself having to work with his own enemies, as it were, with the individuals who stole a piece of creation off of him. And he probably has some desire to see humanity to survive in some fashion. I was right, they're motion sensitive, but they're also very slow. Where did the hands come from in there? Anyways, so he's also reluctantly working with them, but I think he's got his own angle. Again, there'll be a future episode. But yeah, that is what an Archon is. It is a servant of the... willingly or not, mind you, because technically a lot of human institutions of control, such as law, excuse me. Okay, cool. I honestly didn't know they've restocked this section or not. But willingly or not, because many institutions of human control believe that they are, in fact, working for a good cause. I mean, most people who, you know, think that laws and other forms of social control that keep us safe, as it were, are good. I mean, it's been challenged a lot lately, but most people do not want utter and complete uncontrolled. Anarchy is not the right word for it, but I guess just chaos. They don't want chaos. They want to be able to go to their work. They want to be able to go to their job. They want to be able to raise their kids and not think too hard about why the nature of the world is as it is. And that is what the board wants. It desperately wants that. So it encourages that. And a lot of people, subconsciously or even consciously in the terms of the Bureau, go along with it. Because it's easier. Because just doing your 9 to 5 and retiring sometime, that's a lot easier than trying to figure out how to metaphysically expand your horizons to the point where you can escape this trap, as the Gnosticism, of dull and dead matter. In other words, what we call the world. Gnosticism can have some pretty negative connotations to concepts that we think of as positive. Like, for example, the church being essentially a willing dupe in all of this. One of the reasons why the church got rid of them, whether you believe it's true or not, they probably did not appreciate the opinion. So, with all that, why exactly are we working with the Bureau, as it were? Now remember, Jessie's only desire is to get her brother back. And that's frankly being played with probably by the board itself. Because the board will do that. They'll give you whatever benefits that you want so long as you stay quiet. You stay within the system. You, as Morpheus says, go along with the take the blue pill. I mean, it's fine, right? Your job's, fine, right? I mean, your day isn't kind of disrupted by ancient evils. But if you want more than that, if you start looking into why things don't make sense at some level, excuse me, I'll just get rid of that, then unfortunate things may happen to you. A number of people who with federal badges in the Bureau may show up one day to just say, well, you know, we're taking you into custody, investigating you, injecting you with some drugs that'll make you forget about all your problems and possibly half of your life. All if so that everybody else can have a good day. You know, it makes me the more I talk about this, the less guilty I feel about killing these guys. But yeah, these guys would be the ones who'd show up on your doorstep in black suits with, Neuralizer is a happy fantasy. Best you could hope for is retcon. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Torchwood, but in Torchwood they had a drug called retcon, which they use to selectively wipe your memory, but which is, you know, pretty horrific. The alternate, as Captain Jack would say, would be to kill you. But, I don't know. Do you think you want the government to alter your memories? Excuse me if I take over this guy's mind. Yeah, where exactly do I get off on the ethics of mind control, right? Yeah, do you want someone like me getting into your head and turning you into my slave? Okay, very small percentage of the people listening to this may be into that, but majority of you are not. Okay, where are you? Oh, up there? Oh, gods. But that is a situation within the universe of control. The board controls everything. Now remember that since the board control itself has all these devices, it can in fact change any human concept it wants, from law to reality itself, as long as it fits the concept of keeping things under control, which of course is what this whole game is about. I love Fracticide. Fracticide. Whoa! That was fun. Who's throwing the grenades? Oh, good gods. Dude, we talked about this. We're not India. Also, you don't seem to understand tactics. Oh my god, that guy shot right through him and killed him. It was lovely to watch. But yeah. So yeah, these are the guys who show up one day, just take you, whisk you off. If the best, they'll give you a job. You know, you never get to leave the house. You never get to talk about your life. You have to abandon all of your friends and family, and possibly get, you know, your mind wiped every now and then. But at least you're alive. And middle problem, you get killed. You know, I don't think they're sadists. But one of the reasons they do this, like notice with vibrations, one of the reasons you'll notice that all of the Bureau people seem off, it's not just that they've been working for a soulless organization, it's that they've been vibrating to a soulless organization. The board itself is created the demiurge. Demiurge then operates at their vibration of nullitude, of nothingness, of lack of empathy, of professional sociopathy. And that is what the Bureau is. The Bureau has been marinating in that vibration for decades. New people come on, I'm guessing in the beginning they're kind of happy, kind of chill about it. But you notice the older they get, the more experience, like Emily and Arish and Marshall, all have this numbness to them because they have become like the board. They have absorbed the board's energies. They have completely subsumed themselves to the board as a subordinate function of the Watchers, of the Masquerade, of the vast illusion that keeps the minds of humanity dull and uninspired. And that is what an Archon is, and that is why the board is the Archons. Now, we're going to be going over next time, however, the opposite component, the hiss. Now, the hiss is a completely random factor that was thrown in, or was it? Was it random? Is somebody playing a game with all of this? That's what the next section of this is going to be about. The hiss, Polaris, and the long game. What the hell is going on between the board, the hiss, the janitor, aka the Most High, and Polaris? And of course, the person in the center of it all, Jesse. And how does this all fit into the larger Alan Wake universe? Well, I'll go over that next time. It's probably a bit of a brief episode, but I think I went over the concepts that we need to here. Oh, gods. I do apologize for the interruptions. Excuse me. Oh, that's better. That might be using my rocket launcher. It's embarrassing. Anyways, I will see you next time.